Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond the Screen. I am your humble DM, Tim, and today we are going to do a first impressions look on the just released Vecna Eve of Ruin. This is the very shiny alternate cover. I will admit, I'm not really a fan of a lot of alternate covers. This one, really damn nice. It's got the symbols of the various gods. You've got the dead three as well as the other members of the different pantheons. And then you've got the hand of Vecna with his eye rune in there. So yeah, this one is a book I've really been looking forward to. This is sort of meant to be the Avengers Endgame of the 5th edition book scenarios. So yeah, without further ado, let's have a quick dive in. One thing that I really do like about a lot of the more recent books is they actually give you chapter summaries. So you don't actually have to worry about flicking through the book to find out what's going on. I have done so, however. But essentially, this book is level 10 to 20, having the players chasing down and attempting to prevent Vecna from completing a really evil ritual. So much so that he's basically going to rewrite the entire multiverse. And so this adventure takes you beginning in Neverwinter all the way through to Sigil, to Avernus, to the Astral Sea, the Shadowfell, to Barovia. This thing takes you everywhere. One thing that I have noticed, which is actually kind of good as well, is essentially every single chapter is a different adventure in a different location. So even if you didn't want to run this as a full adventure, you could very easily just take the different chapters and run them as their own mini adventure where you show up and you have to retrieve an item, because in every chapter the party is seeking one specific item. So you could very easily just tweak this book, and rather than having it as one massive adventure, you could very easily run it as a series of smaller adventures if you wanted to. But I will say with that now, major spoilers ahead. So if you are looking for, if you don't want spoilers, please look away now. And if you want spoilers, then please stick around and we'll go through the basic breakdown of what we're going to get in this book. Please be advised, there are spoilers ahead. You have been warned. Alrighty, so we'll go through, and I'll just read you out the chapter titles right off the bat. The introductory one is Danger in the Multiverse. Chapter 1 is Return from Netherdeath Graveyard. Chapter 2, The Wizards 3. It's where we come across Mordenkainen, Tasha, and Silverhand, The Wizards 3. Chapter 3, The Lambert Zenith's Last Voyage. Chapter 4, The Ruined Colossus. Chapter 5, Death House. Chapter 6, Night of Blue Fire. Chapter 7, Tomb of Wayward Souls. Chapter 8, The Dragon Queen's Pride. Chapter 9, The Betrayer Revealed. Chapter 10, War of Pandemos. And I think that's how you pronounce that. And 11, Eve of Ruin. Another thing I'm going to say as well with this book, the artwork is beautiful. I mean, I'll put the proper image of it up here, but this artwork here, this picture of Cass and Vecna, honestly, I would have that blown up, framed, and put above a fireplace. It looks brilliant. So, I'm just going to go through, essentially, and just read you the chapter summaries. I'll comment on some of the bits and pieces that I think is pretty cool as we go through from what I've read. And also be aware, remember, Spoilers. Okay. Chapter 1 summary. This chapter takes place in Neverwinter, a city on the Sword Coast in the world of Toril. The characters are investigating the disappearance of high-ranking nobles in Neverwinter when they stumble upon a cult of Vecna. The characters stop the cult from performing a ritual to steal a kidnapped victim's secrets. In doing so, they are shunted to Evernight, a gloomy version of Neverwinter in the Shadowfell, and receive Vecna's link, which ties their fate to that of the Lich God. So the characters aren't really planning on going after Vecna, they just sort of stumble into it. Chapter 2 takes place in a secret sanctum in Sigil, the City of Doors. This is where you meet up with the Wizards 3. Two of the powerful spellcasters attempted to cast the Wish spell to try and stop Vecna. They botched it, and that brought the characters into this location, and so they decide to send the characters off, or at least Mordenkainen suggests, to send the characters off looking for the Rod of Seven Parts, a powerful artifact that might be a way to stop Vecna now. Mordenkainen knows the location of the first piece, which is in a covert base of Lolth operatives. And so you actually head off into the Underdark from this section. Chapter 3, you head off to the astral plane. You actually have to track down a crashed spelljamming vessel and deal with the monsters and some of the crew on board that in order to locate the next piece. Chapter 4 is actually kind of cool. You actually end up going to Eberron. You are wandering around a battlefield and actually going inside a giant Warforged Titan in order to find one of the components. One of the pieces from the Rod of Seven Parts was actually used as part of the construction of this war machine, and you actually meet up with a group of Warforged soldiers while you're there that assist you. So characters learn that the third rod piece is located in the Mournland, a magical wasteland. Eventually, the characters discover the piece is located within an enormous deactivated construct called Landro. The characters must navigate this colossus and retrieve the rod piece from the engine room. Chapter 5, we head off to Barovia, where we infiltrate the Death House. Now, I will say this is one of the ones that people I've heard have had the biggest issue with, because the Death House scenario is one of the ones that was in the original Curse of Strahd book. And from what I've seen, the scenario is very much the same, or at least the map is very much the same. But the difference being that they actually do have Strahd in here. He's actually listed as the Master of Death House in this book. So, recycling older maps and things like that, I don't see a problem with it. You've already done the work. You might as well make use of what you've got. Chapter 6. You now head off to Krynn, where you infiltrate a stronghold that is being controlled by Lord Soth. So we're already dealing with two major villains right off the bat, and we had to deal with Lolth before, but still, we're getting things are getting really, really interesting at this point. Chapter 7, you go to the Isle of Serpents on the world of Oreth. Oreth, I'm fairly certain, is in Greyhawk. It's actually their version of Torel. Because in the Forgotten Realms, Torel is Earth in the Forgotten Realms, and Oreth is Earth in Greyhawk. So you head off to the Isle of Serpents on Oreth, and you find the sixth piece in a crypt vault of the Tomb of Wayward Souls, a dungeon created by Lich Asirak. So once more, you run into another tomb vault built by Asirak. Now, this isn't a remake of the Tomb of Horrors. This is a different scenario. There are a few of the same traps in there from what I've seen. There's the stone juggernauts that run over people in there. So again, you're always going to come across some of the classics when you're building your dungeons, but once more, a Sirak rocking up. Awesome. Chapter 8 takes place near the dragon god Tiamat's lair in Avernus, the first layer of the 9 hells. The characters learn Tiamat obtained the 7th rod piece and stashed it somewhere near her lair. The characters discover that the rod piece is inside a casino called the Red Belvedere. They must infiltrate a members-only section and either defeat the champion of Tiamat or convince the champion to surrender the rod piece. So you're actually going to a casino in Avernus and basically doing an Ocean's 11 style heist or just beating the crap out of someone. But I'm going to show you this little bit of artwork too, because this is something I thought was absolutely phenomenal. When you rock up in Avernus, one of the first things you actually come across is a demonic war machine. So you know how with Descent into Avernus you've always got the Mad Max style thing. Well, not to be outdone, they have got another war machine, and this thing is basically a giant tricycle. But the funny thing is that the pilots of this vehicle, they are Iranians, and they are actually looking for people to help them break into the casino. So you can either join their crew and help them out, or you can fight them and steal their war machine. Either way, awesome. Absolutely loving that. The next chapter, now I will say one more time, major, uber, super, mega spoilers ahead. So if you really don't want spoilers for this adventure, please stop right now, okay? But this chapter, okay, making sure. You gone? All right, cool. So this chapter, you go back to Sigil. And you visit the Wizards 3 once more, since you've acquired all 7 pieces of the Rod of 7 Parts. And this is where the Betrayer is revealed. And, of course, the Betrayer is Cass. However, Cass is actually disguised as Mordenkainen. So he's actually been the one pulling the strings behind the scenes, because Cass once more wants to defeat Vecna by actually overtaking his ritual and using it for himself. And so that's why he needed the rod. And so now you've got to try and defeat Cass, because he's turning out to be just as bad as Vecna. And once you get the rod back, then you've got to go off and defeat Vecna. So this chapter starts in Sigil and continues in Pandemos, the first layer of the chaotic plane of Pandemonium. So you're off to Pandemonium, everybody. The rest of the adventure takes place on that plane. With all pieces of the Rod of 7 Parts retrieved, the characters must allow the spellcaster to examine the rod, or so Mordenkainen claims. The Archmage reveals himself as Cass and uses the rod to subdue Astriel and Tasha. Cass flees to Pandemonium to free Mishka, the wolf spider, and usurp Vecna's ritual. The characters must race to Pandemonium in pursuit of Cass, who has discovered where Vecna's ritual is taking place. And then, of course, Chapter 10, you're following Cass through Pandemonium, through the ruinous seas, an ocean of swirling, possible chaotic magic. On the coast, a battle rages between demonic forces of Cass, who is attempting to free Mishka the wolf spider from his prison in the nearby ruinous citadel, and the demon god Lolth, who is allied with Vecna. The characters can manipulate the battle, or they can race straight to Cass, who eventually reveals the location of Vecna's ritual. And then, of course, the final chapter, the characters must ascend into the Cave of Shattered Reflection, where Vecna weaves his ritual of remaking. The ritual is nearing its end, and the Lich God has created several demiplanes that offer glimpses of the multiverse he is creating. The characters must navigate these demiplanes to find the key to enter to entering Vecna's ritual chamber. Once inside, the characters must stop the ritual, which has left the Lich God in a weakened state. And that is the entire adventure summary. So, from what I've read about this adventure and all the little bits and pieces, again, I haven't delved deeply into this, but from what I've read, from the maps that I've seen, from some of the encounters that I've gone through, some of the monsters you're going to be fighting, this is going to be one hell of an adventure. And quite frankly, I think very fitting as sort of the end game for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. So I am very much looking forward to running this adventure myself. I'll probably be running it sometime after the middle of this year, right before the new books come out. So, or if you're watching this after that's happened, I've already ran it and it was awesome, and you can find the videos to somewhere around here. Follow the links. Yeah, it's really cool. So you end up going from Torel to Sigil to the Underdark to the Shadowfell to back to Planescape, to Spelljammer, to Descent into Avernus, to Barovia, and all the way to Krynn, and back again. This adventure takes you everywhere, and you basically fight or face everyone of significance that has ever been in the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition books. So, yeah. I will say, though, probably one of my favorite little things here, just as a little going away thing as we close out here. You've got the different little monsters in here. So you have like the stat. Oh, actually, that's another thing too. You have updated stats for Vecna, Tasha. They don't give updated stats for Tiamat because I don't think she's one of the ones you can fight. Updated stats for Strahd, Mordenkainen, Mishka the Wolf Spider, Lord Soth, Cass the Betrayer, Lolth, Astrael Silverhand, and Asirak. So that's the character dossier. But this is probably my favorite new creature that they've included in this thing here. It's called the Whirling Chandelier. And the Whirling Chandelier is, as it sounds, it's literally a chandelier that attacks you. It's a construct chandelier. And anyone who is a fan of Acquisitions Incorporated, I'm just thinking of Viari trying to swing on a chandelier, and suddenly the chandelier animates. It's like the greatest enemy of all, the animated chandelier. But this thing has got a challenge rating of 8. It has 3 chain attacks and 3 lamp attacks, 3 chain attacks, 3 lamp attacks, or a combination thereof. So it can make 3 attacks total, not 6. But it also has a recharge ability called Blazing Vortex. Each creature within 20 feet of the chandelier and not behind total cover must take a Constitution saving throw or take 8d8 fire damage and have the blinded condition until the chandelier's next turn. It's just great. I love little things like that. So even if I don't end up running this anytime soon, I'm definitely adding a blazing chandelier into one of my upcoming games. So anyway, that's where we're going to leave it today. So again, this is just a first impression, and from what I've read here, definitely worth picking up. So if my word is good enough for you, then please pick up your own copy of this and enjoy saving the multiverse. But for now, that is where we are going to leave it. If you like what you have heard here, please remember to like and subscribe. I have been your humble DM, Tim, and until next time, everybody, remember to keep on blending. Bye!